What's up? This is Derek.
Jamie Madrock.
Man, this your man's Obi Trice.
This is Ad-Lib.
Yo, what up? This is Spesh One.
This is Spesh K.
Hot Rock's motherfucking Skot MC.
Breaking
Records.
Breaking Records Radio out here.
This is Breaking Records Radio.
Check them out, man.
But alright, it's Breaking Records Radio and the place to be. You know what it is. It's your host Maloney. And we got a very special guest with us today. We got the Prince of Pot, Marc Emery.
Nice to be on the show.
Hey, thank you for being here, man. It's an honor. Honestly, you know, coming up, I probably started...
Actually, it occurs to me I should wear this.
Oh,
the club made it for me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So we're ahead in the series. There's no game tonight, so that's cool. The Raps are on tonight. I've got one of theirs, too. And I've got 4 Blue Jay 420s with my name on it.
Really?
So, yeah.
Oh, wow.
So this one's got 420 on it. It's also got my name. They put on each one of them and stuff. But the cool thing about a Maple Leafs jersey is the numbers are on the side. You get a Blue Jays jersey made by the club. And I've got one in every color. But the short sleeves for summer, right? So there's no
numbers on
no
them.
420
Yeah.
on them there.
Just on the back.
So there's that, yeah. So.
That is so cool.
All right. So now that I'm fully attired.
So is that, with all the places that you've lived, are the Leafs your team then?
Well, no. The Blue Jays are definitely my team.
The Jays are your team?
For 30 years. But I got 2 Vancouver Canucks 420 jerseys, too.
Yeah. Well, I seen you in a video before go Canucks, go, when you're ripping a ball.
But after I went to prison in 2010, and the Canucks had the big riot after their failed Stanley Cup, the Canucks really haven't fared well for 6-7 years, right? And
yeah.
The Leafs are, maybe they're ascendant, but if we can beat Boston, that's one monkey off our back. So I'm looking forward to that.
All right. And see, me myself, I'm not really a sports guy at all.
Yeah.
Never really been one, but
well, I played
pretty
hockey
well
as a
everyone.
kid. So I get it, honestly. Anybody who goes up in Canada sees a lot of cold.
Yeah. Yeah, basketball's really the only sport I ever really got into, just because it's the only one I could play.
Yeah.
All the other ones I sucked at, and I'm like, nah.
Okay, I played baseball and hockey and were never any good at basketball. I could not get through those hoops.
And that's why you don't care so much to do the interview on Raptors night. But I want to go back because honestly, like being, you know, I started burning when I was like 13 years old. But pretty well, as soon as I started burning, started to get into marijuana culture, I learned who you were immediately. And I know someone who's like a distant relative of yours, but we'll talk about that off air, so we don't put any names out there. But yeah, so I admire everything you've done for the fight for the culture.
Only to end up with this bullshit situation.
And that's actually where I want to get to after.
I can't believe we ended up with something so terrible in Canada.
Well, I was
like
the
idea was all along, all my life I've been fighting so that everybody could grow,
yeah.
Anybody could sell, and we could all walk around with as much weed as we want. And because there's nothing bad about cannabis that requires any regulation.
Yeah.
I just figured that they'd say, okay, everybody can grow, sell. And you just got to pay your taxes and be respectful.
Yeah.
Instead, they hand it over to a bunch of greedy corporate carpetbaggers who don't have anything to do with weed.
And just want to monopolize.
The regular citizen is still a criminal if you sell it. You can't grow more than 4 plants. Can't even grow any in Manitoba or Quebec. The provincial governments have a monopoly in 9 out of 10 provinces. Only Saskatchewan isn't a weed distributor.
Yeah.
And in British Columbia, they got like 5 stores. Toronto's got 2 stores.
Yeah.
And it's been legal for over 6 months.
Well, and I actually heard a couple, I seen a story the other day where I guess people were outside of the dispensary, the one that they just opened, and they were selling weed to the people waiting in line because the lines were so big.
That's a good idea. That's a good idea.
Yeah, no, I was like, nah, I don't need to do that shit anymore. But
I'm glad to hear somebody's doing it.
Yeah, exactly. It's
undercut those government monopolies.
It's ridiculous, though, and that was going to be later in the interview, but since we're kind of on it, I would like to actually touch on it. It's like, after 20 years of activism, you know, being jailed for how many times?
39 prisons and jails. And by the
39
way,
now.
There's actually more in total, but I don't count any I've done more than once. So I've been in jail in every province, one territory, and 5 years in the U.S.
Oh my god.
So I've done 33 different jails and prisons in Canada.
And like how much in fines total? Because after the Project Gator, they
The
just hit
big
you
one I
with,
got,
like,
it's $195,000.
Yeah.
I paid $60,000, so I owe $135,000. It's due by December. I don't know where I'm going to get it from.
That's insane.
And if I don't pay it, it's like 3 years in jail for $135,000. You get $114 a day for every day you do in jail. So $135,000. It'd take me approximately 3 years to pay that.
Holy shit.
Right? So I don't know what I'm going to do about that. I just don't have that money. I don't even want to give it to him, really.
Well,
I was always
I
hoping
can't
I could
blame
strike
you.
some deal with some big business, but the problem is they're all illegal. I can't work. Well, Canadians are still going to jail. I cannot work for these licensed producer companies, right? Because they're enjoying this monopoly, this privilege, while regular Canadians are getting arrested for opening stores, running stores. That native dealer in Winnipeg or Edmonton got like 10 months in jail for 85 grams.
Holy
85
shit.
grams. Jesus, that's almost the amount of weed you'd sweep, you'd vacuum up off my carpet here at a given time, right? 85 grams, man. So you're legally allowed to have 30 grams, but over that, they can really throw the book at you.
It's less than a quarter pound for fucking...
Exactly. Like, it's nothing in this day and age.
That's insane.
And the funny thing is, when pot was illegal, that guy wouldn't have gotten anything close to 10
No.
months, right?
Well, that's one thing I wanted to actually touch on, too, because, like, now, I heard you say in an interview, and I don't know if maybe it's changed now because it was a little bit older, but there's 45, like,
New laws, yeah.
Yeah,
New criminal
compared
offenses.
to the old, like, 8.
Yeah, and the maximum went up from 7 to 14 years. And you know what that's for? If a 20-year-old passes a joint to an 18 or a 17-year-old, you could get like this enormous amount of jail time, right?
Yeah.
In this protect the young people thing. So these 420s are going to be interesting where everybody's passing joints and nobody is fucking going to card the person beside them at a rally or anything,
No.
right? So absolutely, 45 new offenses in the in the Cannabis Act.
So it's actually degressed then, really. They've just made it more criminal.
Yes, they're using. They've taken a page out of George Orwell. They call it legalization, but it's really Prohibition 2.0.
Yeah.
Right. So that way, the general public could say, "What are you complaining about? It's legal now," but they don't smoke, so they have no fucking clue.
Yeah.
They don't notice that there are no stores throughout the whole country pretty well. Saskatchewan has some, New Brunswick has some. The places where no one lives have them.
Yeah, right.
In Ontario, BC, and Quebec, it's like horrific, and that's a good 26 million of the country right there.
And it's insane too, because if you think about it, it's like, how many are in Ontario? There's the 2 in Toronto, right? And then
2 in Toronto, and there's 1 in London, Ontario, 1 in Ottawa.
So, like, if you live in Hamilton, you have to drive to fucking Toronto.
There is maybe 1 in Hamilton, but the funny thing is that there's room in Ontario for probably 1,000 stores.
Oh, easy.
Toronto could probably handle 250.
Yeah, and small markets, like, all the small towns will want them too. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
Those are the people that get the most stuff.
And not only that, that'd be a good place for a lot of mom and pop places in
Yeah.
small towns. They could make enough money just to do all right, and they don't need to worry about anything else. Right?
Yeah.
But instead, the likelihood of it coming to a small town anytime soon is remote.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you got 25, it's going to be like Windsor, London, Sarnia, Hamilton, etc., Brantford, Ottawa, and then they're going to get multiples in Toronto and Hamilton and Ottawa. Maybe North Bay, Sudbury gets 1 each, but it's going to be sparse.
Yeah.
Like if you want to buy weed up in Aurelia, you're probably going to have to drive 50 miles, 50 kilometers, right?
Which, like, that's absolutely ridiculous.
Well, no, because and not only that, everybody who was smoking before legalization knows somebody.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's hard to call someone up on the phone and say, "Hey, you want to meet me at Tim Hortons, right?" or something like that. And get
Half
an
the
ounce.
people are still doing that anyways.
75%. I believe it's more than that. I believe it's 90%.
Yeah. And actually, one thing, because my shout outs to them, THC Collection.
So who's
a friend
THC
of mine,
Collection, by the way?
A friend of mine started up with a few other guys out in London, Ontario. A little right before the legalization laws change. I don't know what I should be saying on the record, to be honest about it. But long story short, they're a dispensary online company.
Good.
And they actually wanted me to ask you, when I told them I'd be interviewing you, he got excited and he was like, "Oh, try to ask him this for me." And since we're kind of on the topic,
Okay.
What do you believe is the timeline for the federal government to actually dent the black market?
Well, see, I'm thinking there's going to be a lot of these laws struck down.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm financing a challenge to the driving, Bill C-46, where every single pot person, like now that I've smoked this joint, I would test over 2 nanograms for the next 24 hours.
Yeah.
So I get in a car, I'm not remotely impaired, never had an accident in my life, smoked every day, blaze all the time. I've always been stoned driving. But
Yeah.
you're a good driver if you're stoned. So, of course, all this hysteria about cannabis and driving is misplaced. But if they did a saliva test, it would indicate that I've got more than 2 nanograms. Even if I pass tests, they could suspend my car for a week, take away my license. All sorts of bad things can happen. If you're over 5 nanograms, that's a criminal offense. Well, actually, this joint would easily put me over 5 nanograms too. So we're all in really big trouble if we run into a roadblock.
Yeah.
And we've been smoking pot. We're perfectly good drivers, but they're not measuring your impairment. They're measuring how much
Your
THC is
dosage.
in your body.
And that all depends on
And with cannabis,
tolerance.
it's not, yeah, exactly. A lot of people, I could smoke joint after joint,
Yeah.
and it probably wouldn't even make a difference to me, really. A lot of
Yeah.
pot is pretty ordinary to me after a while.
Yep.
So that's a terrible law, and it's going to get struck down. That'll be the first to go. But there's a whole bunch of other ones that'll be challenged, too. The whole idea that a legal commodity, like no one's arrested for illegally selling cucumbers or illegally selling coffee.
No.
But there's all 45 offenses for anybody who like illegally sells cannabis. Why?
Yeah.
It's perfectly safe, right? The only issue should be, are you collecting the taxes? And if you are, then you're good to go.
Yeah.
Right? The idea you have to buy it from these fucking merciless factory farm corporations who produce swaggy weed under awful circumstances, and a lot of them won't even hire Canadians. Canadians won't.
Really?
Yeah, because Canadians don't want to work for minimum wage at these boring jobs in these bright rooms, these factory farms, trimming weed all day for like $14 an hour, $13 an hour, whatever they're paying in Newfoundland or whatever. So they hire foreigners. They bring in immigrant labor who, like, they put them up in a house and all they do is work all day. They don't know anybody. They hardly speak English, right? So that's not even employing Canadians when you get down to it. Too.
No.
They're going to be employing a lot of foreigners. And because Canadians won't do that kind of rote shit for $14 an hour, hurting your hands, boring day after day, 40 hours of that. And it's really bright. You have to wear those white uniforms, a white face mask.
Oh, yeah.
You got to put something on your head, right? And you know, growing used to be so much fun in every place I've ever been except these factory farms, right?
Yeah.
And then it's like, wow.
Yeah, I can see that, though, because really, like, weed is a fun thing. Weed is, like, but once you treat it like everything else, you
A
just
commodity,
treat it like
well,
another
once you got
industry.
like 5,000 different plants, 5,000 plants in a room in straight lines, and they all look identical.
Yeah.
And your job is the same thing time after. Normally, if you're in a grow, today we chop down. Tomorrow we set up for drying. In 2 weeks we'll trim, etc. You're doing different things. You're watching the whole process happen.
Yeah.
You're popping seeds. But in these factory farms, you're given a task, and then you got to do that task for 8 hours every day.
Yeah.
Right? It's not like you're getting to do every little part of the process.
And you're not taking really care with the plants. Because me, myself, I do gardening, actually, for my day job. So, like, there's actually, like, as corny as it could sound to some people, but there is, like, a connection with plants. There is a thing about looking after it, and, you know, you're like, I care for this. Oh, I killed this tree.
Being
You're
involved
like, shit.
in cannabis taught me about all the other plants. Now,
Yeah.
every time I go anywhere, I go to visit botanical gardens, zoos, any kind of place where botany is going on.
Yeah.
And I was just in Peru, and there's a gorgeous botanical garden in Pisac on the way to Machu Picchu. And I spent hours in that place, like taking photographs, having the old guide tell me about what each plant was, some of which I hadn't seen before. And,
Yeah.
oh, no, I've become very interested in plants. Cannabis will do that to you. Cannabis makes you curious about the plant kingdom.
Well, definitely. It's like if something this amazing can just grow naturally, what else is there out there? But one thing that you did mention as well, too, you brought up dispensaries and paying taxes, and as long as the government's getting tax money. That's one thing I found interesting, because when the Canadian government basically paired up with the DEA to extradite you.
Yep, that was in 2005. They arrested me and then extradited by 2010.
And that was for the sale of seeds.
Yep.
Which you had been doing for, what, 10 plus years prior to that?
1994 November to July 2005 when I was busted. So 10 years.
And paid over $600,000 in federal and provincial taxes?
Well, it'll probably be more than that, but and I gave away $5 million too of that money too. Like that was, but that's what the DEA was really upset about. See, it was the most incredible thing ever, and that story is going to be good in my book.
Yeah.
Because what happens is people are sending me lots of money, and I'm doing all sorts of things. But eventually, I decide, you know, I could. Because in the United States, ballot initiatives, which is where referendums for the people on the ballot, they get put on there usually by people going and getting signatures, okay? So let's say in Washington, D.C. in 1998, they needed like 25,000 signatures to get medical marijuana on the ballot for just Washington, D.C.
Okay.
And typically how you get those signatures is you go to a professional signature gathering organization who does this, and they charge $1 a signature. They charge you more. They're going to give the person getting the signature $1 a signature.
Oh, wow.
They go get the signature because it's an incentive. That way, you'll put up with all the abuse if you're going to get $1 a signature every time someone signs. So anyway, I put up enough money to get all the signatures. It got on the ballot and it passed. So I said, fucking right. So in the year 2000, I gave a lot more money. $50,000 US.
Yeah.
And we collected about 80,000 signatures to get medical marijuana on the Colorado ballot, and that passed.
Wow.
So that in 2000...
So you guys are responsible for the reason that Colorado for so long has been a weed friendly.
This Canadian guy had a big impact on American ballot. It's also illegal, but I didn't care because it was easy. I would just give the money like $10,000 to people, and they would give it.
Yeah.
So I just say, give me the receipt, so I knew I did that. But so I'm doing that, and then 2002 in Arizona, that passed also, but was later struck down by a court because they had written the initiative and the ballot language wrong, unfortunately. And then there were others I wasn't successful in, like Alaska we gave money to on 3 occasions. I had a class action suit against the U.S. federal government in Philadelphia where we brought all these medical patients from all over America to Philadelphia for a week. That cost a fortune too. I was like 35, 40 grand U.S. More probably, and but I was doing all these things, and the DEA was aware of them because I'd boast about them. I was saying, "Wow, with your money, people, you buy my seeds. I use your money to do this, this, and this," and it was like fucking awesome, subverting the whole U.S.
There's one guy from Canada completely infiltrating these states,
getting laws changed.
Wow.
And I realized I could do this
while selling seeds to them.
So yeah, that was the great
the
circular
DEA
activity.
So the DEA got pissed then.
Well, that also was combined with the fact that in November 2002 in Vancouver, John Walters, the drug czar, came to Vancouver to tell us to stop legalizing pot and to stop have safe injection sites. And we found that he was giving a speech to the Board of Trade. We bought a table. It was $500 for a table for 10. We bought a table and we went in and we heckled him unmercifully because he was so full of shit. He was so lying that we just called liar, bullshitter. And he melted down. He eventually melts down. He loses his temper. He goes crazy about us. But the next day, that's when the investigation starts. When I did my Freedom of Information request, I found out that a day later, the FBI and DEA and Homeland Security, all these people start working in coordination to put together the case. They bought seeds from me in every state in the United States.
Just so they had
just so they could have it. Yeah, and they had an Agent Menendez, coming to see me, and she bought $3,000 to $5,000 worth of seeds on 4 occasions over the year, right? Because when DEA gets you, they get you.
Yeah.
Not like some cheesy state task force where they hit and miss. These people put a case together over years.
Yeah.
And they spend a fortune. My Freedom of Information request
isn't that all
showed
technically entrapment then?
30, no, because entrapment is getting you to do something you wouldn't
have necessarily done. Okay.
But I'm clearly already selling seeds, so there's no entrapment there. But for example, if you were an ordinary person and they say, "Hey, listen, we'll give you $250,000, we'll pay off your mortgage, or we'll do this or your grandma's in the hospital, we'll pay all her medical bills if you do this," that's entrapment.
Yeah.
Because somebody's going to be hard pressed to say no if their grandmother's going to get, or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Or if you tell a junkie who's desperately going through withdrawal, you'll give him his drugs if he commits a crime, that he probably wouldn't do it, but if you're going to fucking take away his, so that's entrapment.
Okay.
But you know what, though? That having been said, almost no cops ever get accused or convicted of entrapment.
Yeah.
And very few things are thrown out of court because of entrapment. Even when the RCMP or the police organize those Mr. Big stings, where they bring you into the mob boss, and it's really just a big police setup, it's all bullshit, and they ask you to tell, you have to tell them what you've done, and so, anyway, basically they get you to confess to shit, too, because they're really cops.
Yeah.
But that's how they get you to do that, by promising you a really juicy bit of cash and a great job if you just confess. So people have a tendency to make up some shit, too, to make a good impression.
Yeah.
Right? So this is why that goes all haywire, too. Right? But anyway, cops. I wouldn't, that's a tough job. I wouldn't want to be a cop.
No, I wouldn't either.
Everybody's distrustful of you. I don't want to go through life having people wonder how, are you looking at what I'm doing? Or, people just don't like being around cops. Nobody does.
No.
Right? And
I have friends who turned out as cops, and now it's awkward even hanging out with them. You know what I mean? Dudes I grew up with, and it's just like...
Yeah, because you also have to wonder what kind of mentality wants to do that job.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be different if it was some Dudley Do-Right who wanted to do good for people. But we all know that cops are kind of bad dudes at times. Not all of them. And I don't know if Canadian cops fit this mold, but every day
A
at
lot
least
of them.
25
There's enough
new
of
news
them.
items comes up about cop malfeasance,
Yeah.
violence, brutality, and the shocking amount of shit they get away with without having to be punished.
It's disgusting.
Right, yeah, it's appalling. And the number of people they kill or tase and stuff, right?
Yeah.
And in Canada, we have about 70,000 cops, and in the United States, about 800,000, right? So they do a lot of carnage for those kind of numbers, right? Like, I mean, mind you, that's still a lot of cops, close to 1 million cops
Yeah.
between Canada and the United States, right? So 1 million cops is a lot.
Yeah, and if you highlight every story, then it seems like...
But we need those cops only because we've got so many bad laws. Get rid of the prostitution, gambling, money laundering, drugs, and so many other. You can cut the number of cops in half.
Yeah.
Which is one of the reasons why this drug war never goes away.
Yeah.
It's such a bread and butter issue for cops.
Well, and that's one thing I was curious of, too, was that, like, with your stance on marijuana and stuff, what is your stance on, like, the
legalize
prohibition
all
of
drugs.
everything?
Yeah, like, but I mean, there's, first of all, the worse a drug is, the more you should legalize it.
Yeah.
At the bottom, if we kept one drug criminal, I would say keep cannabis illegal.
Yeah.
Because that way the government will stay out of it.
Yeah.
Because our culture thrived when we were being persecuted.
Yeah.
Right? And persecution is good to build up loyalty and a sense of united self, purpose. Our culture thrived after 50 years of prohibition. There's millions and millions of us, despite it was being illegal.
Yeah.
We're making good money growing, selling. Everyone's happy. There's a lot of great weed. Canada has an incredible reputation. So for me, I would prefer to see all the other bad drugs legal.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for that. And then make our drug illegal again. Go back to the old days when it was way better for everybody.
Yeah.
And the reason being is once you legalize something, government will write you rules. And they're forever. And they'll hire fucking hundreds of bureaucrats to make sure they're enforced.
Yeah.
So you've always got these fucking people looking over your shoulder.
And it's all
making
control.
everything regulated and controlled and ultimately illegal again.
Yeah.
Because the ordinary citizen is not who these laws are all designed for. These
Well,
are designed to control big corporations or for bureaucrats or
Yeah.
control doctors. All people who already work in a highly regulated system. Cannabis people never had a fucking regulated system. We didn't ever grow up with all these fucking rules. We just learned to grow good weed and sell it to our friends.
Yeah.
And then from there it goes outward. Maybe they have friends. Maybe we sell more weed. Maybe we grow more weed. But essentially, the kind of people we're selling to are also our friends. They're not people who are buying weed from a factory farm hundreds of miles away from some anonymous people
Yeah.
who don't give a shit by a CEO who's never smoked pot in his life.
But he sees it as a
It's all
financial
money, yeah,
opportunity.
and they all do. Like there is no more sterile meeting than when you go to these expos that Lyft and company have in town.
Okay, yeah.
Right, they're so fucking guys in suits with money. You go to Expo Weed in Santiago, Chile, and every booth had bongs and dab rigs and stuff to get you high when you came up. They fucking
Oh, yeah?
everybody high. And there's like a DJ every 10 meters, right?
Really?
Everybody's got their own DJ. Yeah, it's like a massive 3-day nonstop party.
That's neat.
And all around the world, they're really cool. South Africa, Cape Town, Medellin, Colombia has Expo Metaweed. Uruguay is a great one. They're all so much fun. God, you come to these Canadian ones, and they are not fun. There's nobody smoking, nobody doing anything. It's like unbelievably sterile and clean, and it's made up of all these money people. It's
Yeah.
all money, 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 money.
Well, I find as
Right.
well, too, when there's a culture that is able to take power, that's feared, right? It's always feared by the powers that be, whatever you may call them,
Well,
right?
that's
Central
why
banking
we
systems
ended up
really...
getting screwed, because what happened is during the Prohibition, when it was illegal, we were setting the rules.
Yeah.
We were opening stores anyway. Illegal, we don't care.
Getting laws changed.
Yeah, and now that growing all these medical grows, right?
Yeah.
Now everybody's grown way more than they need in these medical grows, so they're selling the surplus, which is why there was so much great weed across Canada.
Yeah.
Because they were being grown legally as medical grows, so they could go nice and long, they could flush, didn't have to worry about cops, right?
Yeah.
They dry it, they cure it. It's awesome. We've had the best weed ever since we've had this medical program, because nobody needs to rush worrying about the cops coming through the door anymore.
Yeah.
But what happened is they were selling off their surplus to stores like mine. I was selling like 12 kilos a day, man. How many was I selling? We did on average $65,000 a day.
Is that between when you had all the stores, or
No,
just like
one.
the
Just one.
original
Just one
store?
year. $1 million in 2 weeks.
Holy shit.
I sold as much weed. too bad I gave so much of this money away too. This is what's so unfortunate. Is if I'd have known how much the fine was going to be, I had saved a lot of shit. And actually, I wouldn't have collected the taxes. I collected $500,000 in taxes for the government.
Yeah.
I really regret that. I shouldn't have collected fuck all for them.
Yeah.
Because they don't respect you if you do collect it. Right? And I gave it to them. We were doing everything legit. I regret that. Wish I hadn't done everything legit. Either not collect it. Because I did collect it, I felt obligated to give it to the government.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody said, why don't you just keep it? Well, then I steal from my customers, really.
Yeah.
Because they didn't give me that money, so
And
I
then-
could put it in my pocket.
And then you're technically doing something else illegal.
Oh, no,
which
that's
can
definitely
be-
theft, because,
Yeah.
you know, I collected it on behalf of the government, which is what you do.
Yeah.
So I felt obviously obligated to give it to them, but I regretted collecting it. I should have just sold the weed without the tax and let my customers keep their tax money.
Do you think they would have shut you down faster, though, if you had done that?
No, because if the government, federal government, would have told the local authorities how much I'm paying in taxes, that might have made a difference. But I don't think they share that information.
Yeah.
If they'd have said Emery just gave us $500,000 for his one shop,
Yeah.
then the cops might have said, that's a lot of fucking money. Yeah, it's a lot of fucking money. And that stopped as soon as they busted me, right? There's
Yeah.
no more of that. And in fact, the police seized a lot of the tax money that I had collected. The police seized it. I don't think they've ever probably given it to the government. I don't know where the money the police seized for pot stores goes, but
Yeah.
it probably isn't CRA, you know, Canada Revenue Agency.
Yeah.
So the cops actually seized money that was designated for the government's tax coffers, right?
Holy shit.
Anyway, so yeah, I did learn a few things. Maybe it'll work out okay anyway. I know the government is chasing after people for taxes they didn't collect and stuff. So I haven't been getting any of those because I did pay them.
Because
so
you paid it, yeah.
Maybe that's okay.
Well, one thing I thought was interesting too, right? Like just to go back, like when you were extradited, because you had paid all that money, probably even more than what, 600,000 plus in federal and provincial taxes. So I guess.
Yeah, it was something like 588,000.
Do you think that might, though, have a reason? Because technically the government, you had yourself legally down as a seed seller, marijuana seed seller, right?
No.
So they knew.
It wasn't legal, but I filled my income tax forms out as seed seller. Like, in other words, I was honest and transparent.
And so with them collecting that information, they knew
I know
what
everybody.
you were doing.
That's right. And everybody thinks that should be there accepting the proceeds of crime.
Yeah.
But the government is always never guilty of any of those things. So yes, they knew it was from crime. Yes, they took my money. And yes, they say, in fact, they'll tell anybody that criminals are still obligated to pay taxes on their earning, even if illegal. Right? And that's how they get you. Later on, after you've been convicted of a criminal offense, if it involved money, they'll come at you a second time, the income tax people, and say, now you owe us money on what you made.
Oh, wow.
Right, you know. And
Wow.
now here's the thing. To some degree, it's not illegal to not pay your taxes if you can't. But that means you have to own nothing. Now, I'm in a very fortunate position. I have nothing going. I'm not employed, I don't have a job, and I kind of spent all the money, which is somewhat deliberate. I gave $60,000 to my fine. And but now I'm in a position where I don't own fuck all. Nothing, zero. So they're not going to be able to get any tax money out of me. Yeah. Right? Well, that part is not illegal if you don't have it.
Yeah.
What's illegal is not filing your returns or incorrectly filing, for example.
Yeah.
But if you can't pay, you can't pay. That's the
And they
bottom
can't
line.
force you to pay what you
Well,
can't
no, they
pay.
can. They try and force you in any way, but they need assets to seize. If you own nothing, then there's no assets.
Yeah.
They'll garnish you any wages you make, though, but the net effect of that will be to not encourage you to get a job.
Yeah.
Right? Like, why would I write a book or get a job that's going to be seized by the government?
Yeah.
Right? So what I would tend to do is work at some bong shop for minimum wage where there's not worth their while even garnishing it. Right?
Yeah.
So I don't know what I'll be doing. Who knows? It's come December. I hope I got some deal worked up.
Yeah.
Because otherwise there'll be a problem. I won't have that fine paid, and I owe a lot of back taxes too, based on something I owed them from 2001. But with penalties and interest, it's ballooned to a huge amount.
Oh, shit.
But there's other alternatives too. I can declare bankruptcy.
Yeah.
Because, like I say, I own nothing. And at the same time, all my private debt, I don't have any. I just owe the government back taxes and a fine.
Yeah.
Now, going bankrupt doesn't negate those debts, but it gives you 7 years stall time.
Yeah.
So that I can come up with some fucking deal over the next 7 years where
Some
somebody
sort
gives
of
me a
plan
big
that-
pile of dough
Yeah.
for whatever reason, I don't know. And I mean, it's some places going to come up with a proper system where people aren't going to jail, and I can then get a job ethically.
Yeah.
That might even happen here. I'd gladly work for a licensed producer if Canadians weren't going to jail.
Yeah.
But while they're still going to jail, this whole system is just horrible.
Yeah.
Right? The whole idea of legalization is nobody goes to jail anymore. But we still got, somebody's getting arrested about every 38 minutes.
Really?
Yeah, there's going to be, at least in Ontario, they estimate 7,500 charges in the next year after legalization. They give out 23 a day. Now,
Marijuana related.
yeah, 23 a day, and that's like 600 and some odd a month, which is 7,500 a year, and that's just Ontario. They're giving people charges all across the country, and it's the impaired driving things too. So, add that up, we're still going to get about 15,000 people a year charged for selling, growing, and possessing illegal weed.
So that's even worse off than it was to even to begin with.
Well, it was sweet a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Like, that was the best time when...
That was great.
When all these free market shops were allowed to be around. Everyone was so happy. Or on the reserves, their shops are amazing.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Fucking like 40, 50, 60, 70 different kinds, all incredible.
Yeah.
All state-of-the-art.
Yeah.
They're sweet.
Yeah.
I hope they're still there. I went to Tyndiga and visited like 8 or 9 shops there out of like the 50, and they were just beautiful.
Yeah.
Amazing weed.
That's one
Good
thing I
prices.
love, and I'm a cigarette smoker myself, so I love the reserve.
Right,
I'm all about that. I'm all about that. What
is it, $15 a carton?
Yeah, if you smoke the stuff I smoke, it's like $24 a carton.
Yeah, and whereas to buy it at a grocery would be like $110.
Oh yeah, ridiculous.
So that tells you that 4/5 of it is all taxes.
Yeah, exactly, which is absolutely bananas. And that's what they're going to do. Actually, one thing I thought you'd think is interesting, I just screenshot it on my way here, because my friend posted this online, but I thought you would think this was pretty laughable, to say the least. So, on Amiri.com, they're selling a quarter of Kush for $1,000.
But how can that be justified? No, 7 grams of Kush for that inside Yorkville's newest pot shop? What? No. Oh, out of stock. What is going on here, though? That's a joke, right? Broken Coast. I know them. I've got Broken... Here, I'll show you. Broken Coast was my guy.
Is it?
But I didn't like them. I coughed all the time, so I stopped getting them. But when I first became medical...
Yeah.
There's tons of these. There's dozens of them. All these... It's endless packaging. But it's a good way to give your friends weed gifts in a legal jar. So that way, like it's got my prescription there, right?
Yeah.
So, the cop looks okay, it looks good. Now, in small letters, it's got, my name. But you'd really have to be staring at all this print to figure it out. Yeah, so these are Broken Coast jars.
Oh, wow.
But as you can see, I was putting like Holy Grail in here.
Yeah, you just do whatever you want with them.
Actually, I've still got, some of these have Broken Coast weed in it. It's like 2 years old, so they turn really gold. All weed in a warm environment, even in jars, will turn brown gold.
Yeah.
Right? It loses the green through the heat and the... Oh, look, this is bonus. I gotta look for these things more often. Okay, this is Rockstar Master Kush. That's looking good.
Just a random old jar of weed kicking around.
Smells kind of interesting, but it's got, the nugs might be like 2 years old or something.
It does smell pretty interesting, actually.
Yeah.
You could just...
We'll put this in the jar and we'll see how it goes. THC typically will deteriorate after about 8 months to a year.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Even if you leave it like frozen or anything like that?
No, frozen is better.
Okay.
And cold is good.
Yeah.
And warm is undesirable. But you definitely need, ideally, cold, dark, and sealed.
Yeah.
So, well, that was kind of neat.
So
anyway,
sealed in the
Broken
freezer is
Coast
the best you could
selling
do.
something for $1,000. You should send me that later, and we will research that. See what's going on.
Yeah.
Have somebody call Broken Coast up and ask if it's a hoax, or if they really have something they think is worth $1,000. Doesn't make any sense.
No, I just thought that seemed bananas.
And also, you know why that's a bad idea if it were true? Because it would skew the average. In other words, if you've got 25 strains and they average 10 or 12 bucks, and you've got one for $1,000, it's going to raise everything up by $5.
Yeah, because everyone else is
Right.
going to be like, well, if they can charge
Well, no, but I mean, that $1,000 would get diluted if you went...
Okay,
So typically what the government does is they look at your website, they assume you've got everything in stock, take 1 ounce of everything, blended in, divided by 25 nugs, and that's
Yeah.
your average price.
Okay.
But any strain that's $1,000 for, so it's
it's
going
gonna
to make
knock your
every other
average up.
price average up by about $5. So all of a sudden, the average price, instead of being $6 or $9 a gram, is now $12 a gram.
Maybe it's a tactic to raise.
No?
No?
It's just some weird. We gotta have to find out.
All right, I'll send you the link anyways. I didn't research it. I was on my way here, but
Yeah,
I seen that and I was like, I bet you'll laugh at that. Regardless.
Laugh! I'm gonna expose that. Hey, let me go grab my tea there. I'll be right back.
All right. I did want to go back a little bit because back in like from 75 to 92, you ran a bookstore in London,
City
right?
Lights Bookshop.
Yeah, and I don't know if it was your first offense, but from what I could see, it was like your first case of civil disobedience.
Oh, Sunday shopping then.
Oh, was it that? Okay.
The 2 Live Crew came out.
That's what I was going to say, the 2
That
Live
was an
Crew.
accident. But typically my routine was this. If I was going to break the law, I put an ad in the newspaper, London Free Press in that case. But I remember I went up to Timmins when they seized my magazine, Cannabis Culture, later on in the years, and I put a half-page ad in the Timmins newspaper, basically saying, I'll be breaking the law, and I'll be doing it right here. And if the police want to come and charge me, I welcome it, right? But they would always have a lot of people. So first it was Sunday shopping. It was illegal to open a store on Sunday in Ontario back in the 80s. And I thought, that's dumb, because I pay rent 7 days a week. I'm an atheist, so I shouldn't have to be bound by these old Christian mores that are made. So I started opening every Sunday. And I made a point of breaking a different aspect of the Sunday shopping rules every week. So one week I was sure to have more than 3 people, because a fruit store can have 3 people, but not 4. So I said, I got 4 in here. And so when the cop came, I could tell him how I was breaking the law, and he'd give me that one. And it didn't even matter if you didn't sell anything, because I advertised it on the day before Christmas, Sunday, December 24th, 1986. I would be giving every person who walked in my door $10 worth of books for free. You could take anything up to $10 for free. So people came in, a lot of people felt bad about that. I said, no, I'm not taking your money because I'm proving a point. Sure enough, a cop comes in and he gives me a citation. He said, it doesn't matter if you sell anything, you're not allowed to open your doors. And so I actually was able to say to him in front of a reporter, so you mean to tell me that on the Sunday, the day before Christmas, I can't be Santa Claus and give stuff away for free? I'm dressed up as Santa Claus, right?
Yeah.
So there's a picture of me giving books away and getting an arrest warrant or a citation. So that was really cool.
That's
and I
incredible.
broke it 8 Sundays in a row, and then I started getting sentenced. I got convicted. But I wouldn't pay the fine. And back in those days, a $500 fine, I remember getting a $500 fine, and that was for the one about dressing up as Santa Claus and giving away stuff.
Yeah.
That's 30 days in jail. In those days, you got about 30 days in jail for a $500 fine, so what is that, like $18 a day or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And but that's like 1986 or 1988 by the time I'm going to jail. And I spent 5 days in there, and then people in the public took a collection and paid the other $300 and some odd dollars. And so on day 5, they said, Emery, you're out of here. I'm going, what do you mean? They said, somebody paid your fine, you're getting out. I'm going, what? And it didn't occur to me that a lot of people were worried about me. And actually, London Middlesex Detention Center is a bad place.
Yeah.
It was probably the scariest prison of any of the ones in the world I've been in.
Really?
Yeah, nothing was more weird and strange and disconcerting than Elgin Middlesex Detention.
And you were in like federal penitentiary in
United States federal.
in
Heck, I was
Mississippi.
and I've been in solitary, and I've been, and I still thought that was the weirdest fucking place.
Really, eh?
Yeah, Elgin Middlesex Detention Center, right out on Exeter Road, in London. And even now they've had murders and bad things happen there. It's just, that's not a good place. But it wasn't when I was there in 1988. But so yeah, I went to jail, and then people, and then they saw I was going to do it again and again because I had 7 more infractions coming up. Wasn't going to pay. So they then it became a crisis. Other people said, yeah, why can't we open on Sunday? And then they changed the law so that small bookshops like mine could open, but nobody else.
Really?
Yeah, it was the stupidest, most pandering thing I had ever seen. But 6 months later, the whole scheme collapsed.
And everything
became legal to.
Wow, that's
to do.
crazy. So that all started in London, Ontario.
So I was ordered to be of good behavior, but within about 6 months, the OPP, Ontario Provincial Police, for people that don't live in this province, they determined that there was a new rap record out that was obscene, and they were saying that if anybody sold it, they would charge them. Now, I objected to this for a couple of reasons. If something gets banned, it should come from the top.
Yeah.
Not some fucking police force deciding that we don't think it's right,
Yeah.
you should have it. Who are you? You're just fucking cops. You don't get to determine what's obscene and what's illegal. You're supposed to enforce the law,
And
not
that's
make
it.
it up.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
It's up for a judge to say, okay, this is illegal, this is obscene. Okay, then the police would at least have a judge saying this is legally obscene.
Yeah.
But they just decided. So I said, well, that can't be allowed to send. So they said, it's called As Nasty as They Want to Be. By Two Live Crew. It's a double album CD, and it's wall-to-wall sex.
Yeah.
It's just black vernacular talking about sex the whole time.
Yeah.
So anyway, I said, well, that's bullshit, man. We're not going to allow that. So I have my friend drive to Detroit, buys 100 copies of the CD, brings them all back, and that's my stash. So I buy a half-page ad in the London Free Press selling we're going to sell this banned CD that the OPP has said is illegal, and sure enough, there's a big lineup that morning all the way around. Ultimately, it's hundreds. I only have 100 CDs, but there's hundreds of people in the lineup. But the second guy in the line is a cop. Later on, I remember because we took a picture from the inside, and the guy standing second is the guy who later comes to arrest me.
Wow.
So we sell them. We sell 100 of them to people pretty fast because I know the cops are probably within 2 hours. And by 2 o'clock in the afternoon, they raid me. Cops come in with a warrant.
Holy
they look
shit.
around. They don't find any more because there is no more.
Yeah.
And then they charge me, and I go to court. Now that was a weird experience. Remember, I lost on the Sunday shopping. I didn't win in court.
Yeah.
I lost, but they changed the law. Well, what happens is, normally you play the obscene item out or show it in court or demonstrate it to a public that at least it was done with transparency in a courtroom.
Yeah.
So my lawyer insisted that it should be played in the courtroom so people could hear it and the press could determine it and report on what it was. And the judge said, no way. He said, but I will allow the prosecution to read out the lyrics. Well, you got the straightest white Norbert guy.
Me so horny.
Exactly. That's the very famous one. That's the opening song, right? Called Me So Horny. So he's going, Your Honor, it begins thusly. Me so horny. Me so horny. Me love you long time. And now, right away, people start rolling over in the chairs. This guy is just like fucking hilarious. Everybody's cracking up. And the judge banged his gavel. Must have been 4 or 5 times. Bang, bang, bang. This is no laughing matter, but it was. This court we will clear the courtroom with people. And the thing is, my point was, it's not obscene if people laugh non-stop throughout the entire reading of it, right?
Yeah.
Because obscene is like dead bodies. Obscene is like things that disgust and are loathsome and are crimes against humanity.
Yeah.
That's obscene. Everybody was having an awesome good time listening to this guy simply read the lyrics. Musically, it was a lot better than he was reading it, right?
Yeah.
Also, we would have... If I had gone to a higher court, I would have said, because I'm going to be found guilty of selling an obscene item, and but they totally discounted the music, as if the music had no value. Right?
Yeah.
So what you're saying, it's obscene because of the lyrics. So you're saying poetry would be obscene, so a book would be obscene.
Yeah.
Right? Like, why just a record?
Any
If that-
literature
If that were
of-
printed like that in a printed form, it would be obscene.
Should porn not be obscene then?
Anyway, right? Well, exactly. Like. And by then, 1990, hardcore porn is allowed in Canada. From a 1986 decision, the Red Hot Video.
Is that when that happened?
Yeah, Red Hot Video decision allowed it so that as long as the porn wasn't degrading to women or children, that's an interesting thing because a lot of porn in and of itself is degrading one person to the other.
Yeah.
Whether it's degrading the man or degrading the woman
Yeah.
or degrading them both.
Both, yeah.
Like, have you noticed that poo is becoming... Like, what the fuck is
I
going
seen
on?
an interview the other day with a porn star on No Jumper, and she was talking about how she has a fetish with poo and stuff.
What?
I'm like, what the
That's
fuck?
a real thing? Oh my god.
And she's like, I have a fetish with it. She's like, I have to go to Germany to film it and shit. I'm like, you're fucked.
Oh my god. Because I go through heavy R, that's where I get my porn, right? And I'd say like, okay, 20% of it appeals to me and the other 80% is disgusting.
Yeah.
Right? And that's how everybody must feel. So
Yeah.
while we're jerking off or doing ourselves to whatever it is we like, we're going, oh, those fucking people, they're fucked up.
They're nasty.
They're disgusting. They're nasty, right?
You got problems.
Like the whole poo thing. What? Like the smell alone, let alone anyway. And then there's just a lot of other stuff, like the guys who are like getting their dicks nailed. And
Oh, man, yeah.
Okay, and you know what? Sometimes I go, oh, that got in my brain, Jesus. You know, that came up first, and I
Yeah, you just see the image, you didn't even click it.
Oh,
It's
man,
like, oh.
you know, so Yeah, that's funny about sex is that what we're into is okay and normal, but whatever else everybody else, they're disgusting.
Yeah.
Right? And of course...
Well, that's why censorship's an issue, really.
Well, and that's why people don't understand sex and pornography, because all pornography is about taboo.
Yeah.
The things that make a man horny, and there might be some exceptions for women, because a woman's sex organ is their brain.
Yeah.
So, and who knows what the fuck is going on in there, whereas our sex organ is really obvious and it's external to
Yeah.
easy to understand, manipulate. A woman's sex intimate organ is hidden behind things and requires some knowledge and stimulating the brain, stimulating the clitoris, a whole bunch of things have to go right.
Yeah.
There's so many ways a guy or a person can fuck up sex with a woman, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you don't smell right. You say the wrong fucking thing, right? You know, like I remember saying, calling one woman, I'm getting all heated, you bitch, and she stopped. Don't call me a bitch. I'm going, oh, okay, it's just, I say a lot of filthy talk. Yeah. It wasn't really personal, right?
Yeah.
It was like, oh, you filthy whore. Filthy whore was okay.
Yeah.
Right? But I would tend to use other words, and that one just stopped right there. Just everything froze. Don't call me a bitch. Oh, okay.
It's like Queen Latifah.
Right? And then you meet others. I am your bitch. You know, like, but again, sex is much confusion, much misunderstanding, and we're all very judgy about it too.
Yeah,
when
yeah.
we find out what other people are into. Ooh.
That's fucked up.
That's fucked up. That's
You like to nail your dick?
Or that's and of course that's why I remember reading a Dan Savage piece once where he said by the third date you have to lay your fetish cards on the table, or you say third date that might be a bit early.
Yeah.
That might be a bit early because what are the odds in this big world that one person you're opposite is into what you're into?
Yeah.
And some things are really difficult to handle, like men who like to dress up as women.
Yeah,
that's the least sexy thing to most women.
Yeah.
To a heterosexual woman, hearing you say you like to dress up in women's clothes is a big turnoff, right?
Yeah.
And so, you take your chances laying your cards out on the table. Oh, I like sexual violence, or I like to be degraded, or I like you to poo on me.
Yeah.
If I heard that, those are deal breakers in some ways. Like poo, no, I'm sorry, man. Bloodletting, no, not going to be doing that.
Yeah.
And a lot of things also too sound better conceptually, like tying someone up. But you know what? I've had women say you can tie me up. I just never get around to it. Like once my dick is hard, I'm more.
Yeah, I'm just in.
Right? Yeah, going for the main object. Everything else is a distraction.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? But that could be just me being self-centered.
I'm the same way. Everything. Once you're in the mood, it's like, all right.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't have time for ropes or handcuffs.
Yeah,
and
no, all this stuff.
Fancy shit. By then, I'd probably smoked 5 joints.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty horny, right?
Now I just want to eat.
Yeah, exactly.
I forgot about sex.
Despite all the information and stimulation we have about sex, it's still as misunderstood as ever.
Yeah.
People still judge about it. People still are confused about it. People have a lot of self-confusion about it too.
Yeah.
People are in anxiety about their own sexuality, whether they're normal.
Well, I think that has a lot to do with the society now. Everything, it's open, it's cool to be all these things, but they throw 100,000 things at you. You can be binary, bisexual, transgender.
That's all crazy, though.
But like all this stuff, it's like all these definitions where it's like you just be you.
Yeah.
Like you make the simplest thing of life so complicated that people they're like in these like own inner demons to not even know what the fuck they are. And it's
a lot
like,
of people
you're just you.
Are unhappy and confused about it. Married people aren't getting much sex.
Yeah.
They're always complaining they get sex once a month, if that. I'm going, once a month? Jesus, there's no point in being in a relationship if once a month.
Yeah.
That makes me almost like queasy, the thought of that. So married people aren't getting sex. Young people are getting less sex. They're more confused about sex rules than ever.
Yeah.
It's hard for a guy to be masculine in this day and age too, when you're being bombarded with toxic masculinity.
Yeah, exactly.
Or you risk being shamed.
When do you make the move?
If
I try to make a move, what now? It's sexual assault
or harassment or any number of things. Or if I give you alcohol. Is there consent at all?
Yeah.
Even though most everybody has sex with alcohol or weed, is there, and so and mothers are probably really laying it on thick to their sons too. Watch out. There's so many ways this can go wrong, right? And women are probably a little paranoid too. And also we live in a very spoiled period of time, a decadent period of time, where people complain easy in the era of outrage, right?
Yeah.
Like, 90%
social media
of all,
gives everyone a voice now.
Right, including the hoi polloi who probably should never have a voice.
Yeah, exactly.
In the old days, the gatekeepers, I appreciate them now.
Yeah.
They stopped the crazies from getting their letters to the editor printed.
Yeah.
Who were like, so now
And even
anybody can get out there.
And see, the problem with gatekeepers is things can be manipulated, right? People that have money, influence, can influence
But that
things
was
to
the
go their way.
gatekeepers manipulated. Now No, everybody manipulates.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, like almost like you said, like, because I have like a very like to a degree anti, establishment mentality, anti-capitalist, different things like but it's like at the same time you need gatekeepers, you need some order because like social media area, everybody has a voice, and now you have some of the most ridiculous groups of people who have bunched together and are like making influence
well, none of that.
and change.
Everybody's judged by their heresies, as Jonathan Kay says. In other words, I got judged recently and publicly shamed, even though I've done 30 years of incredible work, liberated millions of people, changed so many laws, given away $6 million in charitable donation, and yet some girl sitting on my lap who, was 18,
actually, I've seen an interview,
right,
about that.
Some girl sitting on my lap, or some butt I allegedly smacked. 12, 15 years ago is meant to negate the entire history of what I've done, right? And I'm thinking, well, and it's all ideological, because all the people who were promoting that were all the people who opposed everything I stood for politically, right?
Yeah.
And it was their way to silence and neuter somebody who's ideologically their opposite. And so and that's what's happening everywhere, and right, left, you name it, is that people are using almost, this intimidating bullying tactics on Twitter and on social media. They'll call you out as if that one infraction you made represents your whole life. Right? There's no balance or going on in any of these accusations, and all the bullying terms you see on Twitter, delete your account, and all these people ordering you, I am the purity committee, and you have, transgressed our standards, and therefore you must be made to be shamed and held accountable. Like, the funny thing about the accusations of me, nobody's saying I had sex with them. Nobody's even saying I asked for sex. A couple of people are actually complaining because I didn't have sex with them, and that somehow shows up as a complaint. Like, the funny thing is I was accused of sexual harassment when there was none. I was accused of sexually, I've even been called a pedophile. I'm the youngest woman I've ever had sex with my wife. I got involved with her when she was 19, married her when she was 20. I've never had sex with anyone younger than her, but you get called pedophile. Like, what? Because people see young women around me. I'm really popular. So there's thousands of pictures of me with women, young women all over the place. And a lot of that's envy. A lot of that's resentment of older white dudes' privilege. Like, it's my privilege that young women hang around me, only an older white guy. I'm thinking, no, I earned that, bitch. I earned all that attention.
Well, all the fight you put in.
All those women coming, and I've never abused anybody. But here's the thing. Everything that happened like 10, 12, 15 years ago with those young women, they consented to everything, which wasn't much. Like sitting on my lap, I guess they consented to that doing once or whatever. It was all consenting then, but now they resent it because of my political ideology, so they get to bring it up as though they didn't consent. They all consented. No one ever complained, not to any authority, not to my human resources people. All the managers of all my businesses ever have been females. Every department's run by a woman, right? I put women on. When I go traveling, I travel with women. I'm not intimate with them, but I travel with women all the time around the world. And I travel with a lot of guys' wives and girlfriends. And I'm expected to be 100% trustworthy and appropriate, right? I'm used to doing this. I've had foster daughters. I've raised kids for 20. Everything. And there's not a complaint out there anywhere, but with any authority for anything at all. Right? So when all of a sudden people are ganging up together and they can concoct a story that allegedly happened 10 or 12 years ago. When I went to my lawyer, I said, listen, I can prove all these are untrue. And he said, don't worry about it. The truth doesn't matter. What do you mean the truth doesn't matter? He said, Mark, the truth doesn't matter. They only read headlines. People are only getting the essence and gist of these accusations. If you bring up the truth, it'll just keep these accusations in the media for another month, 2 months, 5 months, whatever. He said, if you sue them for defamation libel, which you can in many cases, because these are all uncorroborated, unproven, and won't be proven. He said, but the problem is, do you want to spend $100,000 on lawyers so they can have a 2-week-long court thing where all this is reintroduced again? He said, no, you're not going to want to do that. He said, so just don't worry about it. I'm going, what? Don't worry about it? He said, the truth isn't important. When you've got a mob screaming for blood, they're not looking for apologies. They're not looking for the truth. They're looking to shame you and humiliate you into submission.
And even if you went about it and you prove yourself, whatever, in a court of law, they're not going to care. You're not swaying their minds. They've already made their mind up.
It's not that they're not going to get punished for lying. But I'm going to get punished for establishing the truth. So anyway, I couldn't believe my lawyer convinced me that the truth wasn't important. Right. But anyway, that passed. It didn't affect my life at all, really. Nothing. I lost 2 meetings in Argentina, and that was about it. Like nobody. everybody who hated me then still hates
you.
And everybody who loved me has been great.
Yeah.
Right? They've all, same people. Everywhere I go in Toronto, people are always nice to me everywhere.
Yeah.
Stop me in the street all the time. I just went to the restaurant here, the Ethiopian restaurant, did 4 selfies with people.
Really?
That goes. I go to a Blue Jays game. I'm always doing selfies with people.
Yeah.
Right? So everywhere I go, people are great. They appreciate it. They understand, like, whatever that scandal was, you know, it's like seemed minor to me.
Yeah.
I've met women that says, boy, you know, they think they're feminists and they think that's harassment because they think you smacked them on the butt, like once, when, you know. So the thing is, a lot of women have experienced real discrimination, real harassment, real sexual assault. So when they read about what I'm alleged to have done, it's so negligible. You
Yeah.
can tell it was a mob, right? Just waiting to get together. And even that old woman, that 84-year-old woman who said I sent her an email 15 years ago, which I did. She's my neighbor and my best, you know, one of my closest friends at the time with her husband.
Yeah.
And when she had a grandchild and she wrote a letter, I wrote back, I said, hey, congratulations, you're a gilf, a grandmother I'd like to fuck.
Yeah.
Right? And like, she's 65 then, I'm 45, so I'm not serious at all about wanting to boink her.
Yeah.
Right? And she laughed and then put it away. And then when these young people made these accusations that I smacked their butt or they sat on my lap or whatever, she wanted to be in solidarity with all these young people because she, you know, and next thing you know, she's actually on global TV showing them the email I sent her 15 years earlier saying, look at the demented email he sent me calling me a gilf. But meanwhile, I actually have a letter from her 2 weeks before then where she invites me to come stay at their home and they missed me so much.
Yeah, yeah.
They always had such a great time. 2 weeks
So
before
it's
she
just-
goes on TV to show solidarity with these enemies. So
Yeah.
people are garbage at times.
So
Let's try this, like, 2-year-old
try
weed
that
and see
old
what's-
weed?
Yeah, see
All
what it's
right.
like.
So the one thing I did want to ask with the whole 2 Live Crew thing, were you a fan of hip hop at the time of it coming out, or was that just kind of a move of rebellion?
No,
scene?
actually, and I didn't sell new records either. I sold rare old records, but
Okay.
I didn't sell new ones. So I was waiting for one of the regular, like Sam's or someplace, to sell, to obviously break the law.
Yeah.
And then I realized, I'm not going to be able to, you know, corporate entertainment is not going to get themselves arrested.
Yeah.
So I'll have to do it. That's why I end up selling these records, and I'm not even a new record seller, right?
Yeah.
And I wasn't necessarily into hip-hop, but the great thing about that trial is, to prepare for it, I learned about the history of music generally.
Yeah.
And the history of music that disses someone, because a lot of the music was... we see that in a rap battle where they diss each other.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, and they're a lot of fun. A lot of it's how clever you can be.
Yeah.
Well, the 2 Live Crew album had a lot of that kind of dissing and back and forth, right? So we got to explore in our testimony. We had experts come up, talk about the origins of rap and what's going on in the rap. Like, it's not just about sex. It's about prestige. It's about also ego. It's essentially slam poetry, adding music.
Yeah.
Right. And also the backgrounds were sampled, so it was cheap. So a black person wouldn't require a lot of money in order to make music on the street.
Yeah.
Right, which is where where rap comes from. So okay, so we established it. We also point out that it wasn't just rap music where this is going. That music can be unusual. That we point out, like bagpipes were originally used as a weapon of war.
Really?
Yeah. They'd go to the opposing clan, surround their village. And from the sunset, they'd start playing these horrible bagpipes, so they couldn't sleep all night. And then they'd launch an attack at dawn.
Wow.
Right? So all sorts of cool things you learn, right?
That's cool.
And so we got to introduce that there's more going on to this rap than it meets the eye. And it's about sex, but that, as we point out, isn't obscene if it's portrayed as naked people fucking.
Yeah.
Music still had these old laws and old regulations. So ultimately, though, I'm convicted. I am the only person in Canada, probably alive today, that's been convicted of selling an obscene record.
That's crazy.
Right? And that was in 1990. Now, the judge doesn't send me to jail because he said it was in the public interest, the trial, but he orders me to be of good behavior. And I immediately tell the press that the next day I will not be of good behavior. I will be selling banned books and magazines about marijuana, and I look forward to being charged for that.
And so was that step right there your first step in the direction of marijuana activism then?
Yes.
Yeah?
The day after I'm convicted of selling the Two Live Crew, I start selling banned books and magazines. First on the courthouse steps, then in front of police stations, in my store, everywhere I can.
Wow.
Where I can provoke the police into giving me a charge. Now they don't. We finally get charged when a friend of mine, Umberto Arafida, gets charged giving out pamphlets to high school students in North York after the police send an attractive undercover woman officer to go buy weed from all the boys. And she buys pot from 52 different boys in the school, and then they all get charged for trafficking. And a lot of the guys didn't even smoke pot, but this girl was like 23.
And she's hot.
She's trying to pretend she's 17. She's totally hot.
And so all these
Right?
guys are like,
And
yeah,
so
I'll get you
so
weed.
every guy says that. Sure, I'll get you weed.
Yeah.
He can't believe she's paying attention to him. Right? But the guys are also beginning to figure out, they told us later on, that she's asking every guy for weed. So that's a bit strange. She's making a buy from all of them, though.
Yeah.
But how is she smoking all this weed? Because this all goes on in the space of like 6 weeks. Now, the fact that the cops would send some undercover person in for 6 weeks to buy weed from high school students, I don't know whose genius idea was that. But that brought us out to hand out one of our classic pamphlets. It was called 10 Questions and Answers for Every Parent, Student, and Teacher About Cannabis, about marijuana.
Okay.
It was like a real old school pamphlet, like real polite and everything. And we were giving that to the kids as they came out. Principal calls the police, and they actually fucking arrest us. So that's how we got to court. And Umberto gets charged, and I pay for the defense, or the challenge, and we win. Judge J. Ellen McDonald says, you can't ban truthful information and political information. She was like shocked. So she strikes the law down right away. But if you get a criminal code out now, it's still in there with a little tiny asterisk saying struck down in Ontario Superior Court and unchallenged, meaning it's still in the criminal code. But because the Crown didn't challenge it at the Ontario Superior Court level, in Ontario it's definitely legal to sell books and magazines about pot.
Yeah.
But it hasn't been established in the rest of the country. So you'll still see that on the books. Right? Now, bongs and pipes are also still illegal if they're for illegal use. But now, marijuana being, quote, legal, no bong is illegal as a consequence. So that's one good thing that happened when in this bogus legalization is that it finally legalized bongs.
So bongs are actually technically still illegal up to a few years ago.
They were illegal up to October 17th because
Holy
anything
shit.
for illicit drug use is still illegal.
Wow.
Right? And so that was illicit. But now...
But I always thought they'd get
because-
around with the tobacco argument.
Well, that's what they do when they sell it. But we, at my shop, we said these bongs are strictly for marijuana.
Okay.
We do not encourage you to use tobacco, right? So, yeah, they do. No, and that's very much so in the States because in the States they have really punishing laws against paraphernalia.
Yeah.
And in fact, you're not allowed to possess paraphernalia. Whereas in Canada, there are no laws against possessing a bong, only selling bongs. And like I say, now it's legal to sell a bong because cannabis is under the law not illicit as a drug anymore.
Yeah.
Here, I know where my lighter is. Right here. This is handy.
Those things
man.
are the handiest.
Lighters,
eh?
you just got to buy a new one every day if you don't have it on a leash like this.
Yeah. Yeah, those things
So
are
what other
interesting.
questions we got there?
Well, with that being said, I mean, there's like literally because the conversation went well, there's hours worth, but we'll end it with one question, and then when you're back, we can always get together and do another one.
Anytime after May 13, I'm good to go.
Okay, cool. So I want to end it with all right. So if you could go back to the beginning of doing any of the marijuana activism, with everything you know now and all the fight you've been through, is there anything you would do differently?
Yes.
In your
I
fight?
would never ask them to legalize cannabis. I'd say stop arresting us.
Yeah.
Keep emphasizing stop
Decriminalize.
arresting us. Decriminalize it, stop arresting us, and let us write our own rules for our own culture. And Because I should have been, as a libertarian, I should have known the government would be evil enough to do this bad thing. But I couldn't, I guess I wasn't even cynical enough to think it could be as evil as they've done. They put a cop in charge, some narky police chief in charge. They hand it all over to wealthy carpetbagger corporations who've never had anything to do with pot. They put a cop or a politician on every board of directors of almost every LP. Then they hand provincial monopolies to all the provincial governments to control the distribution.
Yeah.
And then the city governments control it. And it's just horrible. And if I would have come up with a different plan. I would have encouraged people to grow a lot of pot, and I would have ignored all political activity. I would say political activity is futile in this country. I think it has been for us. I said just grow more pot. That way we can make money. Everybody will make money.
Yeah.
We'll grow more. We'll have more weed. We'll have good weed. We'll all learn a lot.
Power in numbers.
Yeah, we'll have power in numbers. We'll enrich our culture. We'll make a lot of money. Instead, what we've seen is the worst possible world. Our culture gets handed to a bunch of undeserving, wealthy corporate carpetbaggers
who were fighting against it 5 years ago.
Yeah, that's right. Who were fighting against 5 years ago? Who are now growing these factory farms where disease runs rampant, where mediocrity is the prize.
Yeah.
Paying cheesy wages to the low end, and then ridiculous amounts for the cops and carpetbaggers and former prime ministers like Maloney and John Turner and John Boehner, the speaker, and Fantino, the former. It's just pathetic, the corruption that has accompanied this article.
Yeah.
This Cannabis Act. So yeah, I wouldn't advocate for any political change whatsoever. I would just simply urge people to grow so much pot the police can't keep up with it.
Yeah.
Grow it everywhere. Plant seeds everywhere. Make millions of them and just plant them everywhere until the cops just give up.
Grow them in freaking public areas and side of highways,
Smoke a lot of
everything.
weed, break the law. Because everything that works, that goes to court where we win is good.
Yeah.
When the courts rule, they rule in favor of your privacy and of your autonomy.
Yeah.
But the government always writes the rules to suit them.
Yeah.
So it's good for the bureaucracy. It's good for the carpetbaggers. It's good for politicians. It's good for cops. Cops got way more money when pot was legalized. It should have seen cops' budget get cut by 20%.
Yeah, exactly.
So we know that it's not designed for the ordinary citizen. It was designed for all the special interests.
And more control, really.
And controls. And they even said that. Restrict access. Restrict and control access.
Yeah.
Right? So they knew they were making it worse. And that was their intent all along. They just call it legalization, but we get
To pass it off so it's better, but...
Anyway, man, it's been nice being on your show.
Yes, thank you very much. I appreciate your time. And yeah, when you're back, I'd love to have you on the program again.
No, invite me anytime.
You got a very, very, very long history, and I admire your fight. And
we can talk about some of the people. Like Snoop Dogg gave me an award when I was in prison.
Really?
Yeah, he's never even met me, but he gave me the Good Guy of the Year award for
Wow.
2014. So it's got this wonderful 1-minute thing on video where he goes, "Keep your chin up." Wiz Khalifa is a fan of mine, and Wiz has been hanging out with Snoop, and he said, "This guy's a really good guy. You should give him one of your awards." So
Yeah.
I said, "Snoop's never met me. He doesn't know me, but Wiz does." So
Yeah.
Wiz told him to give me one, and but fun stuff like that. So then they all call their family. Can you go to YouTube and see that Snoop Dogg gave a guy named Marc Emery an award? And then they'd play it back, and they all come back. Mark, that's true. He said, "How do you know Snoop?" So I got to talk all about shit like that, right? But
That's cool.
But Wiz Khalifa's in a video called "No Better" with Juicy J, and he's rolling joints the whole video, and he's got my free Mark jersey on the whole video.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, you check it out. It's nice.
I can't believe I never noticed that.
Yeah,
that's
he's,
cool.
he's just rolling joints nonstop. That's his whole job in the video, and wear my jersey.
That's cool, man. That's really cool.
Oh, I got lots of fun stories of people I've met. I remember Rob Van Dam, the WWE boxer, wrestler, right? Fuck, I never saw a guy with legs they're like elephant trunks. And that was during the steroid period when all the wrestlers are using steroids. When they had to go natural, I mean, his legs were half the size when I saw him 3 years later. Still really fit, but much more like a human proportions.
Yeah.
Right? Those guys on steroids, they develop tree trunks.
Yo, what's up? It's your man, MLNY, Maloney, Breaking Records Radio. You know what it is. I'm just here to tell you guys right now that you want to, if any of my smokers out there, basically, any of my Canadian smokers, now that it's legal, what you got to do is you got to head over to thccollection.com and check them out. And make sure you use the promo code HIPHOP. That's HIPHOP, and that's all capital letters. Save 10% on every purchase that you make. Anytime. They got everything. They got deals every single day of the week, which include free whatever with whatever you buy. And my favorite is Tulip Tuesday. You can get $100 ounces. and that's only on Tuesdays, and you save 10% on every purchase with the promo code HIPHOP, all caps. That's HIPHOP. So make sure you go over there, check them out. That's thccollection.com for all your good medible needs, for all your good greenery, your extracts, and all that good stuff.